All right, I think we're supposed to start. So, there's a dog in the room, and the dog is getting a lot of attention, but I want the attention too. So, if people would come and join, sit down, use the sakkosak. No,
What's the word?
I don't know. I don't. Bean bags, but there's no beans. But there are sakko.
Fake beans.
Fake beans. Fake bean bag. Okay, all right. So I think it's like 8 o'clock now. My name is Vero, and I was also here at 1 o'clock for the conversation with Isaac. So some of you might have seen me before, and some of you might not. We're going to have a conversation about non-binary. That's the entire topic, but it's a big topic as well. So I can just start with introducing myself. I'm Vero. They, them pronouns, gender rejecting, agender, gender non-conforming. Gender is not a thing within my existence. So yeah. And I'm also the second deputy in command of the PKI, the Organization for Gender Incongruency. I think it's the second deputy in command. I hope it's that in English. So, and also the main organizer behind Trans Pride Norway, that was in September. And yeah, and a little bit about our motivation for this conversation is that we had a membership survey. Like we sent some questions to the members of PKI. And then we figured out like 1/3 of our members are non-binary, actually. So it is a large group, but it doesn't get the main topic. It doesn't get the main attention that much. And I think this is the first time where it's like, boom, non-binary. This is just what we're going to talk about. So we're going to do like what we are interested in. We have a few topics that we want to bring up. And I think also it will be okay for people to ask questions or if you want to comment and stuff like that. So it's like free flowing thing. And yeah, Inish, do you want to tell me who you are?
Yeah, I'm Inish. I use they, them pronouns. And I'm an artist and DJ. And I do a little bit of mentoring as well in music production and maybe soon DJing as well. And I work on something called A Guide to Empathetic Spaces. That is a becoming of a wiki web resource and book that is about asking the communities what they need and for making it easier for cultural institutions and society, also private places, I guess, and people, like anyone who are willing to look at their own structures in order to change and meet people with empathy and care and respect. Yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. So I guess that's who I am right now.
Cool. And Iben?
Yeah, Iben, they, them. Artist, study at the Art Academy in Bergen, working with many different like performance and painting, textiles, but mostly topics as gender issues, gender roles, feminism, and yeah, I'm studying my last year now, so I'm very busy. Yeah.
Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
And then, oh yeah, I didn't talk so much about myself. So I'm a fitness trainer, so a group fitness instructor and personal trainer, offering gender affirming fitness workout, and also have like this tremendous long academic background with a bachelor's in renewable energy, bachelor's in macroeconomics, master's in global development studies, and teaches classes every spring for the bachelor's students about gender and development. So I come from like the nerdy, texty, academic thing, and then you're like artists and stuff, and I'm like, I appreciate it, but I can't draw, and yeah. So I think it's a big difference in us as persons. And it makes me happy. But do you want to say something?
I feel very connected.
Oh yeah,
Connected.
me too. Because
Yeah.
we had a few talks, a few minutes like earlier
Yeah.
today. Yeah. So I want to connect it a little bit with the conversation that me and Isak had earlier today, because we had the Trans 101, like talking about what is stuff and what is the words, and there's a lot of words, and non-binary is this giant umbrella term that has a lot of content to it, and I think we're going to learn that as we get to know each other, that we are very different persons and we have a very different approach to the conclusion I'm non-binary. But non-binary, it is a silly term because it just means that you're not a part of the binary, and the binary is the cis binary, like cis man, cis woman, that's it. So rejecting that model, you turn non-binary. So it's a big term, and Inish, you said something about it being a non-term.
Well, just that I feel like sometimes it kind of cancel itself out, because if you say that something is non-something, you are also saying that something exists, right? So if you say that a binary exists and you say that non-something existing, then for me in my head it kind of nulls it out, because saying that there is more than two means that it's not binary. And then you're saying that you're kind of saying that something is existing when you're saying it's not existing. For me, it's really complex, and it took me a while to kind of to even get there, like in my mind, because for me it was a huge calculation where I'm like, no, but like how can there be a like I'm just saying it's not it's not only two, you know. So yeah, how do you feel about that? Because for me, it's like really complex, and I don't think in that way because I feel a lot. So I'm like, it took me a while. Like, how do you go about it? This term?
Yeah, and we also talked about that earlier. Like, you feel a lot, and like, I don't feel at all. I just think. Like, I don't have any connections to emotions, but I have a lot of thoughts. But I'm also a science fiction fan. Like, really into science fiction, and like old school science fiction and stuff. And I'm just thinking about it like multiverse. Like, we live in different timelines. So some people on this planet, they live in a timeline where their reality is a gender binary. My timeline does not have that, but we are at the same planet, and that's the only way for me to like organize it, because it's two different worlds, but we are sharing the same planet, but it's two different worlds. So it's just like two timelines coexisting. One where you have binary gender, one where you don't.
But does the binary gender know that the non-binary gender exists?
Some
Because
of them
then
do.
how can it then be binary? Like for me, I don't know. Like for me, I'm also like I'm laughing so much about this, because for me I'm like, but how is that possible? Because if you validate basically that there is a non, then you're also saying that we are not. Like it's so yeah.
Yeah, because
And it doesn't have that much to do with gender for me, even if on that like when it comes to that, it's
just a construct.
it's
And then somebody choose to live within that construct, and somebody lives outside of the construct. But you can live simultaneously. Just if you self-impose, like for me personally, gender is self-restricting. If I were supposed to kind of like apply gender for myself, I would feel restricted as a person. So for me, it's kind of like this construct that locks you in, that lessens the options that you have in your life. So when you do the MMORPG of your life, and you kind of like, it closes the side quests, right? So you have a less expanding universe because you abide to the construct of a binary, and that binary has a huge sets of rules. And I don't want to do the rules.
yeah, like I don't think
somebody
about the
won't.
rules. I don't think about it.
But
at all.
somebody,
Like, I know
they
somebody.
self-apply and they're like, oh, I want the rules. I want to have a restricted, limited life. Like, tell me what to do and I will do that. Instead of searching for their authentic self, because it's a scary process searching for oneself and being authentic. And then it can be easier to just follow a recipe where you go like, oh yeah, I'm a manly man. I'm just going to do the man stuff. Like, my questing for life is the male quest.
But still, does the like in the quest, in the binary quest, like when they meet, like because at some point they will meet somebody that is non-binary, and
Yeah, for
how does that
for them,
apply?
that's an NPC. It's a non-playable character,
Ah,
right?
yeah,
No, but
exactly.
so
Yeah,
either you
like who is this? Who is this? Like, oh,
then we have hacked the matrix, so we are playing the non-playable.
okay, yeah, yeah.
If you think a lot, but yeah, then it just goes like that. Do you want to say something, Iben, or are we getting carried away?
I think I'm more confused now than
Do you
I
play
was before.
video games?
Video games?
Yeah, do you
Yeah, sometimes.
Oh,
like
which
role-playing games where you choose your character, class, gender?
Not so much. I'm more like a old school video game player. Like
Yahtzee? If you tell me that you're into sports, this conversation is over.
not really.
Okay, good.
No, but I think I have to, in order to like survive in this life, I have to disconnect myself from all this kind of words, like non-binary or mother or yeah. I just have to think of it as words, but it's not what I identify as.
When you say you turn it into words, does that mean that you make it something abstract, away from yourself? Or do you turn it into words like, this is not so important, it's just words, but they are there?
I think it's important, but it's very hard to. I think it's. I can't. I mean, like when people misgender me, for example, I can't be mad at them. I can't listen. So I think yeah, just words. It's like I'm more into what you can see. So when I started my journey as non-binary, I was like, I'm not gonna taking so much words from people. They just have to experience me, and they can make up their mind what I am. But I feel now words, yeah, it's getting more important. But I don't have an option to non-binary. I don't know. It's a gender maybe.
But I kind of resonate with what you say, because like I have this existentialist approach to my life. Like, again, no emotions but a lot of thoughts, so I have to think about stuff. So existentialism is kind of like this philosophical branch where God is dead and we're left on our own. And for me, that's kind of like a lot of hope and positivism in it, because like, ooh, then you can just choose what life is about. You can choose how you want to experience it, what you want to experience. And you can also, to an extent, like choose how you interpret what is happening through your experience as well. And then hence it turns into kind of like a game, because you can choose what quests you want to go, what you want to pursue in your life, what you want to like put your energy into. And for me, like I have this friend, and he's like, he's my best friend. And then we talk about stuff and stuff like that. And he's like, you know, you're queer. I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Like, you're dating women, you're dating men. I'm like, okay. And like, I come from this tiny town. So I'm like, okay, what is that? Like, he's like, oh, you might be bisexual, pansexual. I'm like, okay, tell me more about it. And then it's not me coming out. It's like somebody telling me this is who you are, but my behavior has been like the same all the time, just being my authentic self. What do I want to experience? What do I want to pursue in my life? And then somebody comes on, this has some names to it and stuff like that. And then also talking about gender and kind of like, oh, you're you're not womanly. I'm like, no. Do you have some words for this as well? And he's like, yeah, I have some words for this. And so it's not that much of a questing for like the labels and figuring it out and finding the words and like, oh, this is me, but kind of like pursuing who you are, trying to figure out, like doing what you enjoy, and then enjoying being feminine, masculine, or not questing the gender quest. And then all of a sudden, as a consequence, there are some words describing and putting those actions into one, like a word, like non-binary and stuff like that. But so, like when I was a kid, there was the next door boy, and I was assigned female by birth, and we are the same age, and we looked identical. No, it's not the postman that is the father of both, but we looked identical, was the same height and everything. And our favorite game was to go up to strangers and ask them, who do you think is the boy, who do you think is the girl? And when they guessed wrong, woo, it was the best, we cheated the system. And I think that was one of the first experiences of like gender euphoria, because people got confused, but we were like 6, 7 years old, and for us it was a game, but for us it was also experiencing who we are. And yeah, yeah, I lost track. But we were also, I wanted to talk about gender fluid, because that's also a thing within the non-binary thing. And for me, I'm not fluid. I'm just static, non-gendered. Do you have any fluidity that you want to explore?
I think it's like sometimes you just want to take the easy way and just be binary for a day or two. Yeah, I'm having a problem with I don't want to be gendered as a woman that I've been before. So for me, it's very important to be masculine, and yeah, I wasn't like planning on going hormones and things, but I was so tired of being misgendered. So I felt like, okay, I need to, because I want this androgynous look, right? But I prefer to be more like gender as a man. I don't know, it's more like an escape for the from being a woman. But not necessarily that I want to be a man or every day, or but I feel more comfortable being called a man than a woman. I would like to be called non-binary, but it's not so established in the society. It's hard. It's so yeah. Sometimes I think it's nice to just take the easy way out.
Do you sometimes feel like when you're misgendered for a male, it kind of like weighs up for the times that you're misgendered as a woman? So it's kind of like, as if it evens out, it means that I'm somewhere in the middle, and then it's kind of...
I haven't thought about that.
No, because I've thought about it. But you said something earlier, like you said it in like a small sentence that you can't say against that if somebody misgenders you. Why do you?
I can, but
Why don't you?
because I'm not good at it myself. I misgender people all the time, so I can't demand people to. I don't know. I feel like we need this. It has to be more established in the society, and then we can then it's easier to have that conversation.
Would it be easier to correct people if you had a binary pronoun?
What do you mean?
If your pronoun was either he or she, and then they said wrong, would it be easier to just...
Yeah, I would.
I also, yeah, I really resonate with that because I feel like a huge part of my non-binary quest is to be misgendered. Like if I go out of my house, I will be anywhere I go, and it like, for example, for me, like I know if I choose the road of correction, which is also, I know this is going to be a side quest in most times, because then I will have to explain what it means, and I will explain what it like, how you use it, how you can use the pronoun that I use, and I have to explain sometimes why I use that. So and then I educate, and then also it's emotional labor, because for me, like it's I know if someone misgenders me, sometimes like if I say, if I do correct it, they will feel like they hurt me a lot of times, you know, and it's like I feel like it's always like kind of this journey, and most of the times I choose not to take that road because it takes a lot of capacity, and I have a lot of things to do, and a lot of I have my life. And so if someone, for example, the other day I was out eating with a friend, and someone comes in and out and in and out and calls us hard to say, like for me, like because it happens so much that like, God, it's really sorry to be called a lady, and it happens so often. And in this situation, I know like I'm not that hurt. I don't feel that hurt, but it happens like, for example, 4 or 5 times during a really nice dinner. Then it's like it becomes something, no matter if I do correct it or not. And then I meet the the person who serves the food, waiter. So, and then I meet them out, and they will also say like that word, and I don't know. It just takes so much energy, and I know that correcting it would too. So I choose only to correct if it's someone that is really close to me, that I know that I will probably meet again, or that will be my circle, or that is in my community. Then I will let them know. But probably I will let them know before they even come to the point of misgendering me, if I feel that. So then I will introduce myself, saying they and them, as early as possible every time, so that to avoid that. And then they know, and then if it happens, it happens, and that's fine by me. Like also if people say wrong to me, like I love people, and I know that people have so much love, and I know that people don't do it to be mean, you know, it's people don't do it to hurt me at all. In like my cases, this is not intentional, and I know that. So it's just kind of a lot of emotional labor going about the not using the most typical binary pronouns, for example.
I get what you're saying. And it's kind of like, I also think it would be easier if we like had more opportunities to introduce our name and pronouns, because I often feel that that is like can average some of the misgendering if you have had the chance, like in a more natural way, to introduce yourself like non-binary. And it's also, from my experiences, it's like the sooner I can do that when I get a new friend or a new acquaintance or a new colleague, the sooner I do that, the easier it is to kind of like discipline them into doing the right pronouns. And if it takes some time until, if I take the time to get to know them and figure out and are they safe or not, and then say, hey, my pronouns are they, them. They have already learned the wrong pronouns. So it's kind of like you don't have the luxury of getting safe. You just have to start out. And at my work too, like people come over and like, oh, because I have strength classes, and then they want to be like supportive colleagues, and oh, strong woman. I'm like, I'm not a woman. They're like, oh, strong man. I'm like, I'm not a man. They want, would you I call you? And they're like super hyped. I'm like, strong person, and they're like, yeah, strong person, fist bump. And I'm like, it's aggressive support, but it's kind of like, and they want the answer. And it's kind of like weird because you have to have this crazy IQ 200 of specifically what is our relation? What do I want you to call me? Like strong person, or like strong buddy, or like what because some people are just like, what do I say then? Like, just teach me. Like there's a difference between having a willingness to be taught and a willingness to learn. A lot of people have a willingness to be taught, that you educate them, you train them, you give them the language, you tell them when they're doing right, when they're doing wrong, and they want you to tell it softly when you're doing wrong, and they want the applause when they do it right. But very few people are willing to learn, meaning that they sit down, think for themselves, practice, speak out loud, think out loud. That's maybe the same thing. Or write down and then practice and stuff like that. And it is super frustrating because it's not just the pronouns. Like, for me that's easy to correct. It's like han, and just han. Correct them straight away, and they're like, oh, okay. But it's the other kind of like gendered language that is like. If one of my personal trainer clients go like, yeah, like us women, and I'm like, no, this is not a us thing, this is a you thing, kind of thing. And that's super hard because you're there as a personal trainer for them, creating space for them, and you want to be inclusive and you want to relate to the person that you're working with because you're there for guidance. And then you have to have hard limit. This is not something we share. And still keep it up as a friendly, like, you are paying me for teaching you health, but I also it's difficult with the non-pronoun words, but are still gendered words.
It's a lot to navigate. It's just a lot to navigate, and a lot of emotions. Or like for me, it's a lot of emotions, but people as well. Like just to navigate also other people responding to you. And I had like the other day, someone really close to me kept like the pronoun and they were kind of like, I can't do this, you know, like, and then I'm like, really, like, okay, so then I found this solution for this person to put with my name, because this person calls me a lot, so put with my name, my pronoun on the phone. So that every time they call me or I call them, then they will, then they will get reminded in a way. And it's just like, I feel like so many times I'm just finding like these creative solutions for people to be able to, learn this. But I also really resonate with what you said, saying that it's something different also. Like the willingness of being taught or wanting to be taught, and actually just learning it, spending time with it. Yeah.
And it's also, I had a conversation with my colleague. This is my first job where I've been out like since day one. And I've been working for a year, like a year and 2 months. Woohoo! But, and I had a conversation with one of my colleagues, like cis, maybe not hetero, but cis guy. And very open-minded, like super safe. We had worked a lot together, talked about private stuff, and he's like, other colleagues, are they like misgendering? Like, how much does that happen and stuff like that? And I'm like, it happens a lot, but I kind of like, I don't have the time during my work day to correct everybody and then teach everybody and kind of like keep it up, because it's a lot of work just to start that conversation. And sometimes it's less there and then, it's easier to just let it go. But it compounds. So at the end of the day, you're more tired from self-erasure than from standing up for yourself. And then and he's like, oh yeah, but do you have do you have friends and places where you're not misgendered and stuff like that? I'm like, yeah, I have friends. And I'm like, oh, sometimes we're just trans people and that's super nice. And then there's almost nobody ever misgendering me. And like, I can have a full day not being misgendered, but still being with people and all of that. And he's like, yeah, and how does that make you feel? I'm like, it makes me feel welcome. And I'm like, shit, I don't feel welcome at my workplace.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to feel that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying this new thing. Sometimes when people misgender me, I misgender them back.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's obviously a male, like you call him she, just to see the reaction.
For me, or yeah.
Do they get better? Do they?
I don't know. It's mostly people I meet one time. Strangers.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I find really much easier though, and also just I'm so grateful to be a part of a community and a queer and trans community where I know, like for me, it's so easy to correct someone when they misgender my friends. That's like super easy for me. It never takes any capacity from me. Like I'm so happy to do it, and I really feel like if I do that, I don't lose energy to do that. For some reason, this kind of, I don't know why that is though, but it's like, so for me, being a part of a community is really beautiful in that way, because if we can take care of each other as well and we can correct for each other, which I think can help, because doing it like for me at least, doing it myself, it's such a part of my day and it's just like so ongoing. But doing it for someone else, like anytime I'm there correcting people in all kinds of ways. So yeah, it's just something that I've been thinking about, like what is it to be a part of community and protecting each other and helping each other. And just
I had a conversation about that with the cis person, and they were like, because we were in a 2-week educational thing, and I was misgendered a lot, and even though everybody had introduced themselves and I'm super clear, this is my pronouns, and then during one of the breaks, she comes up and she's like, why are they misgendering you so much? And I'm like, I don't know, why are you asking me? And she's like, what? Like, why don't you say anything? And I'm like, because we're here to learn. Like, I have paid money for these classes. I want to learn as much as possible. I'm not here to teach them. I just want bang for my buck. Like, and then move on with it. And she's like, but I'm getting uncomfortable. I'm like, yeah, what do you think I am? And she's like, but what do you want me to do? And I'm like, just use my right pronouns. And she's like, but I'm so uncomfortable. I want to speak up, but I don't want to take away your agency. So she's been sitting there for like 3 days, not wanting to take my agency by speaking up for me, because she's feeling that would be stepping on me. And I'm sitting there like, oh, it's just 10 more days. And so I think like the thing that you just did now, saying that, hey, speak up, because it's a lot of work, so that people get confident that they can actually speak up on other people's behalf. And I think maybe we should try that one out a little bit more. Instead of sitting there and waiting for the person that is getting misgendered to speak up for themselves, because it's a lot of emotional labor to do it, maybe just skip in and then go like, they, them.
yeah, exactly. It's so quick as well. Like we can be super swift.
Yeah.
and really quick.
Like a
And
little
then,
bark.
Yeah, and it doesn't have
Like
to
a
be a huge
watchdog.
thing, because I feel like every time, like if I do it for someone else, it's never a thing.
Mm.
No explanations needed. It's like for some reason that connection isn't as close. I think it's something else, because it's a dynamic of more than two people. One person feeling that they hurt, like I don't know. There's so many dynamics going on, but I feel like if there is more people, and it's I don't know, like, are you getting me? Because for me it's like the dynamic between two people is like, because someone feels that either they feel like maybe they hurt someone, or like I don't know, but if someone else does it, for some reason for me it feels a lot, it's never becoming a huge thing. Like, why do you think that is? Like, because for
I have a follow-up question, because
Yeah.
when you say it's easier to correct other people when they misgender people, those people that are getting misgendered, are they using binary pronouns, or are they also having non-binary pronouns?
This could be in happening, yeah, on, but often it's non-binary pronouns
Okay.
that I'm correcting. Often the person is also not there,
Mm.
but sometimes the person is there. Yeah, on all kinds of situations.
For me, it makes sense because, like, in the topic of racism, I find it much more easier to speak up than on the topic of transgender things. And that's because I'm a white person. So if I experience or I see racism, like, I imagine, like, marginalization and discrimination is kind of like bullets. You're taking a shot when somebody discriminates against you or uses slurs and stuff like that. And if it's racism, it doesn't hit me directly. I'm not the one being aimed at. So it won't hurt me as much to kind of like go in and shield. But if it's transphobia, that pierces straight through. I have no shield. It's going to hit me face blank and I won't have any protection at all. It's like true damage. And that's a lot harder. And it makes it so it's kind of weird.
Yeah, but yeah, the closeness of it and the pain of it as well. I mean, the pain of being misgendered, or experiencing, like having these kind of experiences, it's a lot. It's a lot for us, our bodies, to take every time, I feel. So yeah, like, but I'm also gonna let this sit with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I said in the beginning, to disconnect myself from the words, it's a protection, right? Because I also have feelings about this. But then I think, like, okay, life is a performance or something, and I take it as a little bit of experiments. When I was in a store, and there were some old men working there, and were like, he, she, and I was like, I didn't say anything. So, and they get super stressed, because the first thing people want to find out is, okay, what is the gender? And then maybe what's their age? And then they have like a recipe for who this person is. So it's like, the first thing people want to know is what gender you are. And my mission were like being so androgynous that no one could actually see. And people get super stressed. And I also starting to like, okay, where is the edge? When do I become more man or woman, or like, I wanted to be right in the middle. And I was like, okay, if if a stranger saw me, they were like, oh, that's a guy. But then when I speak, oh wait, so, yes, well, okay, the voice is important. I found out. It's just these little things, and I was blessed with a jawline, so I have always been a bit androgynous. But my voice was always screwing up for me. But yeah, what I wanted to say was to trying to take a step back, be more laid back about misgendering and gendering, and I feel like you were talking about sci-fi, and yeah, feel like I'm an alien on this planet, and like, okay, why do we have genders? What is that? Why can't he wear a skirt? Why it's so bizarre? It's so. I just trying to see the world through an alien eyes, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm living a bit in the future. That's comfortable for me. But I'm an artist, and I like living in those different worlds, and yeah, I don't know if everyone can do that.
We just have 3 different ways of dissociation with the world. Like legit,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what we're
yeah, yeah.
doing. It's a dissociation with
What?
the world, because it's like
No,
it's a way to handle it, because it's like it gets too much. And it's too big to explain.
yeah.
'Cause-
I just thought of something though.
Okay.
Like, I'm just, because now I have a simpler way of saying it. Like, why is it easier for me to correct something for you? If this happens, then if it happens to me that I'm misgendered, I'm hurt. So it's hard to do that. It's hard to speak up, I guess, when you are hurt. You're down, you know, and this kind of pain, it could actually be quite pacifying in a way, and it can be really tough to go through. So if something happens to you, it's easy for me to step out and shield you, because I'm not hurt. I haven't just been hurt by someone. So it's easier for me to step in front of you and shield you, because I'm not hurt.
But you and still you recognize the pain, because it's
I
a
can
pain that you have
empathize with
felt.
the pain deeply, but it's a completely automatic thing for me. It's if something comes towards you, I'm like, you know, and this is my reaction. Like, if anything happens, always, like I'm very like automatic in these things, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you
really
sat with that and felt through it. I wished I could do those kind of thing. We have a hand.
Hi.
So yeah, I have a theory about this, because when I speak up for my partner, who's also non-binary, I get super proud of them for like being out and being proud about it, and I get to be the hero, stepping in, like, yeah, now I can defend someone whom I love. But if I'm doing the same for me, that feels like I am making selfish demands and making life more difficult for the people around me, which I would never feel about anyone else. Like, I can be angry with someone who is misgendering my partner, and still, I wouldn't like ask the same people to gender me correctly necessarily, because that feels more selfish. And yeah, I think validating yourself and respecting and having love for yourself is so much more difficult than for other people. Yeah, that's just my little idea / thought there.
It's a good thought, and I think it's a thing that we should practice, because it's a support system that we have for other people, and we should be able to have that support system for ourselves.
Absolutely, like I can really resonate with a lot of what you're saying, but also I feel like sometimes it's also a part of my self-love, like my love to myself is also not correcting people, because I don't have the energy or capacity. I just literally don't have the capacity to correct people. So it's me preserving my energy in order to function through my day.
basically. But if it happens, like, I know it will be so quick if I protect someone. It's a super quick thing almost every time, but I know that it can get really heavy or emotional or complicated even if I correct someone. So I guess it's also an act of self-love to choose sometimes not correcting. For example, if I'm out shopping or like just having a nice dinner or whatever I'm up to, like, because it happens probably like 5 to 10 times a day anyway. So it's like, for me, if I would correct everyone, I would literally spend maybe like half an hour to 1 hour. And I try this. I try to correct people, and I try to correct a lot of the times. But it's I felt like basically I spend my life correcting people and also having to deal with how they react to me correcting them, which is heavy work. It's so heavy, and it's like, it can be funny, but it's also like, it can become really intense at some points, like, because it's an intense thing. And also, especially if I don't know the person, then we get to know each other because they misgender me, you know? This has happened also a lot of times, that we actually have a full conversation after a misgendering happening. And this is how kind of our basically our connection was established on some hurt feelings.
But it also pisses me off. Like, even after that conversation, you do a lot of teaching. You sit with your own pain and just bite your tongue and like, okay, I'm going to give you room for you to learn in the midst of my pain. And then they learn, and you tell them, and they're like, oh yeah, I think I understand. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna do better. And it's like, why do you have to have a recognition? Why do you have to understand in order to do better? Can't you have like the decent baseline respect to just do the proper pronouns? Why do you have to have the sympathy and be able to kind of like identify with what I'm telling you in order to just talk to me proper? Oh, I get so angry. But it also, when you're talking, I'm kind of like, because when it's strangers, it's like, I just think like, oh, lesser human or whatever. And then throughout my day, if I meet a lot of people that I have interactions with and they misgender, I get that like, less hope in humanity, less hope in humanity, less hope in humanity. And I meet more people that eats away my hope than I meet people that reinforces my hope.
Ooh.
So maybe I should start to correct them. Because even it's like a minor thing, because like I don't have that much emotions, but it's kind of like negative experience, negative person, world is negative, fuck humans. I want to play a video game. But so that might not be the most healthiest thing either.
I guess you always choose your battles, even though, because it can feel like a battle sometimes. But yeah,
I wonder.
I mean, it's, yeah.
I wonder if we would like practice on strangers, if that would make it easier. But it will also like increase the risk of retaliations. Because sometimes, at any point, there might be a lunatic that just snaps from you kind of like standing there in front of them being non-binary, and then you're just challenging their whole perception. Like, you come here with your construct, your timeline crashes with their timeline, and they get an existential crisis. But we have already had the existential crisis, but we thought it through, and we kind of like managed and land on both our feet. And they're like up in the air, like, existential crisis, somebody's non-binary, but I have tried, I've done the woman quest my whole life. I could have done another quest. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then I think they get a lot of anger and resentment and emotions and stuff like that. And then you're standing in front of them, and who's gonna take it, right? I think that's why they get angry and upset and hurt, even if they did the wrong thing first.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, my work also revolves around this, and it's interesting because I feel like when I came out, the first thing I did was like, okay, you know, like where's my queers at? Sorry.
If you need to finish it, you can like just finish first and I'll
Yeah?
talk later. Yeah.
And
Where's your queer set?
what was the speaker? No, I was.
Where's your queer
Yeah,
set?
where's my queer set? Which is like happened a couple of times when I come. Can I? Can
Yeah, talk. It's
because
your
I have to be so close to the microphone. Okay, I have to be this close to the microphone. I'm so close. It's a bit like very close. Why is it so close? Okay. Yeah. Where's my queer set? And then basically what I did was like coming out and restarting like a local organization that was called like the Queer Youth, Skeiv Ungdom, and because like the reasons why I did these things is because I basically spent so much time educating, which is something I realized like okay, I spend my time educating people all the time about queerness and about, for example, now also being a transgender person, and now it's also my work. But I realized this, like it's so much education. So it's also part of my life that I love a lot now, and I understand now like why I'm at the path I am. Yeah, okay, it's probably like not, yeah, but it's actually my work to educate people around these things, also. Yeah.
Hi. So when you talked about like feeling frustration for whenever you get misgendered and like not being able to really say anything about it because it's just like it's so time consuming and like energy consuming, I really relate to that because in my high school there's like everyone speaks English because it's an international high school, and like I came out as non-binary last year, and I changed my pronouns and everything, and I let everyone know. It was quite public, but people still had quite a hard time trying to like use the right pronouns on me. And I'm okay, like for some people English isn't their first language, so I wouldn't really say much. But for those who are using English as their first language, like to say, oh, like I'm not really used to using they them pronouns on people, doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't really like apply, because if, for example, if they do not know the gender of someone, like an entirely unknown person, they use they them pronouns. If I have to give an example, you may find like a dog with like a collar or something, and you're like, oh, I wonder whose dog this is. They must be very worried. Or maybe I should call the person so that they could come and get their dog. Which is like, you use they them pronouns on like almost an everyday basis. It is a part of the language. Like, it's not something that just randomly came out of the blue. And it's just so frustrating to like also to give this example and like try to explain it to people, and they're like, oh yeah, like I get it. Yeah, I get it. I'll do it again. Like I'll make sure I don't like misgender you, but they still do, like knowingly. And sometimes, yes, like being misgender can be quite frustrating, and like it happens multiple times. But when it gets to the extent where you try to correct them and they still get it wrong over and over again, it just seems like there's just no point. And like you don't, and when you say it, when you like correct them, right? They apologize and they're like, oh, I'm really sorry. But that makes me automatically like feel bad for like, yeah, like trying to correct them. Like, yeah.
And I also think that it adds to the hurt that people are able to use the correct pronouns on strangers, but the second that it's personal, they aren't able to do it on somebody they know. And it's like, why can you do this for strangers and not for me? Like, you know me, but you don't know the dog owner. Like, come on. But it takes so much time to explain a non-binary gender.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how. Like, I just tell them I reject gender, and like, oh, and then they're not going to get it, right? A cis-het person is not going to understand what I mean when I reject gender. And it's kind of like, my best explanation of my gender is that for the whole first 7 years at school, we were a class where every time we had some presentation, the parents was there or something, the girls did Spice Girls and the boys did Backstreet Boys. I was always the conferencier. That's my gender identity, right? You need something practically done and then do stuff, but I would never be a Spice Girl. I would never be a Backstreet Boy. And kind of like, but there was room for me during the first 7 years at school. I could still perform. I could still be like, woohoo, here I want to talk in front of the parents. I want to have a mic. But I don't think people understand that, because every single other kid at school wanted to be a Backstreet Boy or a Spice Girl. And I'm like, oh. But we wanted to talk a little bit about how we explain the genders, or like how we explain non-binarity from our perspectives. Do we want to go there? I can see you have done a lot of work right now, sitting with your emotions and stuff.
What?
Just let me know if there's something going on.
Okay.
If it's a lot of work during the conversation.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
welcome.
No, I'm okay.
We can talk about something lighthearted and
Actually, I really love like the way that emotions can come in my body and I can observe my emotions. I love that. Yeah.
that's my worst fear.
Yeah, like I actually really love to feel, and I, even though like I also feel pain and sadness and stuff like that. I do love like I don't know if I love all, yeah. It's interesting because it teaches me a lot about the situation that I'm in. So I'm okay. I'm actually quite happy about feeling emotions.
I told Inish this earlier. I have emotional anxiety, meaning that I don't have access to my emotions. Like, no matter what the emotion is, if I'm going to feel something, the first thing I'm going to feel is anxiety and panic. So not going to access this, not going to jump through, not going to have any feelings. So kind of like, I recognize that you're working with feelings, and I'm sitting here scared to my bones, because like, if I would to do that, it would be the end of me. So I'm admiring the stuff that you're doing, and I'm like,
yeah. No, I can actually understand and relate to it, because I also come from a point where I had to deal with a lot of emotions. Yeah, and then now I can. This is so weird, like explaining how my emotions work, but for me now they come as they happen.
And then you just observe
and then I feel
them,
it.
and then
I
like,
become really sad.
even if it's
I
more
become
than
so
one,
sad. Huh?
even if it's like more than one feeling, like you have,
like multiple feelings, and then like I connect to them. They happen in my body. If I don't do this, this is really weird, but I feel so heavy. Like it's there's some heaviness. I don't. It's so personal, but it's like I feel some kind of heavinesses that are really. So then I have to like go and cry. This happens like. And this is probably a really normal thing, and I didn't know this. So for me, it's like so new to feel this much and to be this kind of connected to my emotions, which I find it's really exciting and interesting to be. Yeah.
I'm losing warmth in my fingers from you talking about emotions.
Oh my god!
I have physical reactions to this, but yeah.
And also, I have physical reactions in my body.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying, and then I get scared. So, yeah. But we are done. Are we done about our emotions? Like, we have been talking for a long time, but we
can talk more about emotions.
Hi. No, this is not Halloween.
Hi. Hello. You hear me? Yeah. Actually, I wanted to go back a little to something Iben said, because I could relate to something what you said, that just being human is sort of a box in itself. And you said, if I'm not mistaken, that you feel like an alien in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't hear people say this a lot, but I think that's very interesting, because first you're sort of, in my mind, born into this body, and you're like, oh, I'm a human. What's up? Mm-hmm. And then suddenly you grow, and then people are like, you this, you that, deal with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very interesting. Maybe it's more common in the when you think about being a soul, gender is a spectrum, we are all living beings, all of these things. Like maybe it comes more naturally to think about these things, but I think it's very nice to hear somebody say it. Really, yeah. I think there's more of you and more of me that feel like aliens in this world, and just being human is hard enough.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I think it's like when people don't understand this, I feel like, okay, I know something you don't know. So that's a win, I guess. I wanted to ask Inish, do you have any situation that you can laugh at while experience your gender journey? Is there any funny stories?
Oh, I'm dealing with my funniness also. Like, I'm like, that was like also probably the hardest question I could ever get.
Wait.
I'll let it sit with me for like 2 seconds. Speak about something else.
I feel like I feel like you're the main character in the game. I'm like the companion. I'm like earning experience points from you processing all this stuff. but and I meant it as a compliment. I'm not sure if it came across as a compliment, but I meant it as a compliment. When I should bring you along to my therapist, and I'm like, this is Inish. I'm just gonna sit there, and they're gonna do the thing that you want me to do.
Oh, funny moment. Like, oh, funny. About the journey as a non-binary person.
Oh, I just
Is
mean
there any funny situation? Has there been any funny things happening in that?
I mean, can you laugh at people's squareness?
Yeah. I mean, I laugh a lot in my life, like all the time. I laugh a lot, and like I guess I find things really cute, and I'm really easily touched and moved by people. Also, the people misgendering me, but also I'm like, I don't know. It's hard to come up with a funny story for me. Apparently, I have a lot of loving stories and like, I guess, but it's not necessarily connected to my I have a lot of sadness connected to being non-binary. I feel like to come up with a funny story about it is for some reason hard for me, because mostly, at least like when I'm not in my community where I feel a lot of fun. Like when I'm with my community, we're not like spending time just being non-binary and trans, you know? We're just being people, and it's not about agendas anyway. Like, so it's not like it's, yeah. So, yeah. Maybe there's like no funny stories that I can come up with. Do you have any funny stories?
A lot.
You have a lot? Like,
I mean, I think it's just in this situation, it's important for me to take a step back and just
yeah.
disconnect me from the feelings and yeah, it's like it's later, yeah, it's not my problem really.
Yeah, like, it's for me. I'm happy to feel the feelings. It's fine, but I no, is it funny? I don't know. I love people like also if they misgender me, you know, like
Yeah.
I don't yeah, but that's maybe funny. I don't know, but is it? I don't know.
I think otherwise you would have a pretty lonely life, because I think everyone is misgender someone at any time.
Well,
But for me, at least, it brings joy. Like I have more joy in my life after kind of like finding the word non-binary and kind of like realizing that I can just opt out. I can just deconstruct the constructing. I can just jump to a different timeline, and then this is my world, this is my truth, this is my authentic self.
Yeah.
That brings me a profound joy, kind of like
Yeah.
I'm on the main quest again. I'm not out doing different things, and it's not necessarily like bursts of laughter or something like comical or ironic, but there is joy to being non-binary, for me at least, because it opens more. It means that I don't self-restrain.
Yeah.
As I had a period where I tried to be a woman. Horrible side quest. I should never have started that, and that did not bring any joy whatsoever. Like, I could go without those experience points, but in some ways it was easier. I think it's hard to exist as a human, like, no matter what and who you are. But I think it's easier to exist as the one you are.
Yeah.
I resonate with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And a lot of joy in it.
And then we all get to say one final thing, because we're like way over time. Do you have some final word for the quest before we hand it in?
Yeah, something that we haven't talked about is getting medical treatment when you are non-binary in Norway. And I find this like really important to say when we're in this topic, that as a non-binary trans person, you don't have the rights to get medical treatment as a trans person in Norway. People who want medical help, they have to define as a binary. So they have to define either trans masculine or trans feminine. And if you don't define as any of these, then if you don't define as binary, you don't get help. You don't get treatment. So for me personally, I never even embarked on that quest, because I know that it won't go well. I know that I won't get help.
I tried.
Yeah? In Norway?
Yeah.
With Riksen?
Yeah. No, I just got this letter. We don't treat non-binary states or something. I couldn't even say that it was a thing. It's just
Yeah.
And, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was like going to this psychologist, oh, you have to try it out. Go in a football game with the boys. It's like, oh, yeah, right. Okay. And it's like, if you dress up more feminine or masculine, it's like that's what they make them up their minds, like, okay, you're trans enough, and it's just like, jeez.
Yeah.
It's not. It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't like.
But it's like, if I do something that is coded womanly, I don't experience that womanly.
Yeah.
And the same if I do something that is manly, I don't experience that as manly. So if I cook or clean, or if I fix a car, like, I don't experience those activities as something that is affirming me as it doesn't feed into me in that way. I don't have like. So it's so weird that they kind of like bring that suggestion.
It is really. It's heartbreaking, really, like that the system is that way, and the healthcare system.
And it is a horrible thing with the Riksdagen that we don't have any access to healthcare, because like I know there's like 2-3 different treatments that I would love to have. It would bring me more joy for my non-binary joy. And like I spent a year like grooming my physician into giving me microdosage of testosterone, and I got that 2 months ago, microdosage of testosterone. And when you do the lowest dose, it lasts 3 months, that one prescription. And then she changed her mind because she called Riksen to get some more knowledge about treating me as a patient. And then she's like, I think you should quit. I have 3 weeks left of my dosage. In 3 weeks, there's not going to be much joy.
Okay, I can
And
give
I
you the
have
number
no
to
rights.
my doctor.
In Bergen, because I live in Oslo. And it's like, but it's frustrating because I can't just change doctor.
No, I mean I have
And
one.
it's a
in
gamble.
the
It's a Russian roulette.
You know, I have one in the system, but then I go to this private doctor just to get testosterone.
Yeah, but it shouldn't
And it's
be
like
like that.
hish. No, but
No,
there's no option.
Because when you go there and you ask for help, and it's a big enough thing to go and ask for help. Going like, I'm non-binary, could you help me out? And they're like, no.
Yeah.
Okay, but we have been.
Yeah, we're like
We
way over
want to
time.
take the.
Then everyone on the stream can hear as well.
Yeah, okay. So is it possible to get like private institutions to microdose you, or like, because I know the public system for trans people is quite terrible, but are there any private options?
Private options? Do you want to talk about?
Yeah, you have to find the right doctor, like underground. Very expensive.
Secret quest.
Yeah, the money.
Yeah, but there are some. When I first started thinking about hormones, I got the tip in the trans community in Bergen, so I know where to go. And for operations, I just went to the Aleris in Bergen and said that I want to do this and this. And he was like, have you talked to Rikshospitalet first? And I was like, why would I do that? I mean, I want to remove something. It's not more extreme than putting something in or doing beauty. I mean, you can go there. You don't even have to say that you're trans. You can just, I want to remove this because it makes me uncomfortable. I mean, as a woman, to have breasts, it's like, okay, I have this sexualized part of my body all the time. I can't even go naked to the beach. I mean, who the fuck doesn't want to do it? Why is there so many questions about it?
Because you have to pay out of your own pocket. That's the problem with private things. And that means that we have a class division within trans communities, because some transgender people have the finances and the support system to go through these surgeries and find them privately, and other people don't. And I think that should be a conversation for the next time we have a conversation, to talk about the class division, economic class and other classes within the trans community. All right, this was intense. Yeah. But I think we should talk more about non-binary topics. But you're gonna play some DJ set and have some party. We're gonna have some performances. Do you want to say something, Isaac? Do we have a break or I need a break? I need some.
I think you
emotional
need
support.
a break, but
Where is the dog?
the dog left. It was overstimulated. It got too much attention. So the plan is that we're gonna move the sofas in the stage area because we're gonna have a performance by Ariel, but that doesn't start until 10:45. So go get something to drink, and we're gonna move the sofas around. So there will be a seating group over there, but we'll try and make it more cozy with the bean bags and chairs and extra, etc. So yeah.
And then also, like, I'm still the second deputy in command of PKI and non-binary and stuff like that. So if this conversation had sparked some thoughts or something that you think that PKI should work with, or topics that you want to bring forward for later events with the PKI, just send me an email to vero@könsinkongruens.no. genderincongruency.no.
I think it's better if they just come and talk to you after, and then you can give them the contact info.
You think my emotional capacity of 3 units has any more?
No, I mean, like, you can give them your information.
Yeah, you do that, but don't talk about emotions, okay? Please.